Good morning, Auburn and E2C Network family. Thank you for joining us for another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, and we talk about something that's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. We're always heavy on the sports here, but if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. We appreciate you being here, spending some time with us to talk about this subject today. Auburn has added yet another offensive lineman to their 2023 class, a transfer again, the second in a row, Gunner Britton. We will talk about him, what it means for the program, and anything else that's related to that. Probably get into a little bit about what it means in terms of what the offensive line will look like next year. All that and probably more on this edition of E2C Network. And good morning, Auburn. As you come into the stream today, please do help us out by doing a couple of different things as you're watching. Smash that like button. It does help us out, helps people know to come watch us if you're watching live or on the replay. Speaking of if you're watching live, make sure that you right now check in with us. Post where you're watching from, city, state, international. Post that right there with a War Eagle. Let us know you're here. If you're a fan from another persuasion, hey, just do what you do here and behave is all I say. But do all those things for us to help get us started on a really good show this morning. And we're going to jump into this topic and obviously take some of your comments and questions for those of you that are watching live about this and dive into this. Now, for those of you that have been watching the channel for a while, you'll know that I normally do this on an edited video, these type of things. But I was like, we're trying new things, right? It's outside of football season. Kyle likes to try new things. So we've been doing some of these early morning podcasts, YouTube videos for you guys. So we're throwing this one in there this time. We'll probably still have some of those traditional edited videos when we get commits like this. But hey, let's try something new today. So that's why we're doing this a little bit different today. But we're going to go through some of the same things. I like to tell you a little bit about the prospect. I like to tell you about what it means for him, what it means for Auburn football. And then, like I said, we'll probably talk about what it means for offensive line next year throughout this. And then at the end, we may take some random comments and questions. So that's what's on tap for today. Josh, good to see you. He says, offensive line coming together. I think it may be a strength next year. I would say that there's a lot of excitement around the offensive line simply because of the recruiting and simply because of a newness that comes with the offensive line being completely different next year. So there is a lot of that. And I understand the excitement, but my caution is always let's temper the expectations until we actually see what they look like together. Because we did this once before a few years ago when we started piecing together some transfers along with some of the ones that we had to kind of get us over the hump. It didn't necessarily work out. So not to be a Debbie Downer, but you know how I am here. I don't always want to be a sunshine pumper. I don't always want to be a negative Nancy. I want to kind of be somewhere in the middle. And so I like to play both sides of that argument. War Eagle to you, Brian, says coffee, eggs, and bacon at E2C family. Listen, I wish I had some of them eggs and bacon. I'll have to go make me some after this. Let's see. Love the focus on the line of scrimmage. Win the trenches. That is how you win football games. It's as simple as that. All right. So what I'm going to do, you guys continue with your comments and questions, but I want to jump right into this because these are shorter form live streams. I don't want to keep you guys too long this morning. I'm going to talk about first a little bit about the prospect, things that I just kind of jotted down, things that you might be interested to know. And then we'll talk about what it means. Gunner Britton obviously committed yesterday, Thursday, the 5th of January from Western Kentucky. It's interesting because it feels like we've taken people from everybody this year or this cycle. Texas Tech, Michigan State, Florida State. There's so many that I'm going to blank on all of them that we've either flipped, stolen from, had them transfer out from. And of course, we've obviously had our shares of people leaving us for others too, but Auburn obviously is addressing some needs through recruiting and transferring. This is 2 weeks after Dylan Wade, the other offensive lineman and the other offensive tackle that has decided to transfer into Auburn in 2 weeks. The fourth transfer of this cycle, and he has this particular one, Gunner Britton, has 1 year of eligibility left. And we'll dive into a little bit to make that super clear here in just a minute about what his time as a football player has looked like. Larry, good to see you. Good morning. Thanks for checking in. Timeline for how all this went down. He signed with Western Kentucky in December of 2017, and he spent 5 seasons with them total, which obviously means this will be his 6th year. Sometimes that gets confusing for folks. We'll break that down in just a second. He redshirted in 2018. Entered the transfer portal this November the 29th. Now, what's really interesting about that is he sat there for a bit. A lot of these guys, when they enter the transfer portal, it seems like they have a pretty good idea of where they're going and kind of name their place within a few, like a week or two, maybe 3 weeks. He sat there for well over a month. So it's probably, here's my assumption and my thinking on that is that he probably had an idea where he wanted to go, but then Auburn became more of a reality when maybe we missed on some other offensive linemen and stuff like that. Not to say he's a second choice in any way. It's just that's the feeling that I get with this particular type of timeline. More specifics about him, measurables, where he's going to play, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, offensive lineman, but he's projected at offensive tackle, which is where he's played all his college career. Probably talk more about this in a second. Right tackle is what this means. Have to wonder how much the atmosphere at Jordan-Hare back in November, when we hosted West Kentucky impacted his decision. It's not the first time that happens, right? Listen, anytime you get someone on your campus, it's an opportunity to recruit them. Coaches, players, staff, it is what it is. You've got to be able to put a good product out on the field for the TV. Any opportunity that you have to get eyes on your facilities, your program, your players, somebody's watching, and you never know who might come along to be able to help you in the future, such as an offensive lineman. Yes, Neil, getting the O-line built back up is a nice feeling. So now listen, here's where a lot of you are going to roll your eyes at me, but I'm going to mention this regardless. I stress to you guys, stars, at least what they come in with, do not matter. Now that's going to blow some of y'all's minds and make some of y'all that are maybe watching the replay upset with me and having the audacity to say that. Stars do not matter with what they come in. Stars they leave with matter. This is proof right here. This guy was you don't hear this too often because really you don't get mentioned unless you're a 3-star. He was a 2-star. Some people considered him a 3-star coming in out of high school from Conway, South Carolina, Conway High School. He's now considered by most a 4-star, but 3 to 4 stars. So he has increased what he was able to do, what he is considered, what he was able to be since that time. That's an impressive thing. Don't focus on what they have stars coming in. Focus on the stars going out. A couple other cool storylines for this player. Protected Bailey Zappe. I can never remember how you pronounce it, but I won't call him a phenom, but really got some attention this year in the NFL at quarterback for the New England Patriots, and he had a time protecting him during his prolific season of 2021. And he's also considered a top 5 offensive lineman transfer. So this is yet again Auburn going and finding the best out of all the transfers to add to their roster. You think Wade at right tackle, Britton at left? Hold on, we're getting there. Good thought, though. Good thought. Neil says that Stetson Bennett proves that stars don't matter. He also proves that walk-ons can do just about anything. So as much as I do not like watching him have success for the Georgia Bulldogs, cannot ignore that. So it's always good to see those stories, even if it's at your own expense sometimes. All right, before we talk about what it means, here's his timeline for how he's spent, just so you can understand the full nature of everything. Timeline for him. 2018 is when he first started at Western Kentucky. He redshirted. We already mentioned that. 2019, he played in all but 2 games, I think is what it was. Maybe all but 1 game, and started 2 of them at left tackle at that time. 2020 wasn't starting really, but played a lot. 2021 is where he really saw his stock rise and became a regular starter. And then in 2022, he was starting at right tackle and left tackle both half the season. So with that being in mind, let's talk about what it means, not just for him, but for Auburn and the future for both of these parties involved. because I think it's important to look at both of those things. One of the things that I want to mention always when we talk about these things, what does it mean currently for the recruiting class? Currently, we're sitting at 23 commits and transfers, 11 on offense, 7 offensive linemen. How does that sound, folks? Isn't that nice? 4 offensive tackles. The future, let's talk about what it means for him in the future. I always stress with you guys, look, these people, when they get recruited, probably going to redshirt. It's not so much the case when you're a transfer. It's not so much the case when you're a transfer with experience. We all know that the offensive lineman is completely gone, whether you're happy about that or not. So the depth chart is wide open at both positions. Now we are filled up with 7 new offensive linemen. So there's a lot of competition that's going to happen there. My assumption is, much like with Dylan Wade, you're being brought in to play immediately and start immediately. Now, you have to go out there and earn it with the newcomers and the other transfers. We'll see what happens. Not really a big storyline here. Always love to mention battleground, regional type of stuff. He's originally from South Carolina. It's not traditionally a humongous recruiting field for us, but anytime that you can develop a relationship with someone from that particular state or battleground or region, however you'd like to look at it, it's a good thing for the whole recruiting process. Obviously, it doesn't really help us all that much, him coming from Western Kentucky, because we've already got a lot of guys in our staff that can go up into the Tennessee, northern area, up to the Kentucky, that have a lot of experience up there. And obviously, Hugh himself was from Liberty up in Virginia, so that kind of gets into that region. So not really a huge storyline for this transfer, but something I do always want to mention, just so we kind of have that in our minds. This is where we probably get into what most of you want to talk about. Offensive lineman class makeup for this cycle so far, but what it probably means for future, if there is a future. 7 offensive linemen. It's pretty full. And there's still some left over. So I'm not saying that we're done, but we could be. You never know. I think it's one of those situations. If somebody still wants to come, seeing the competition that's here now, bring them on. The more the merrier right now. But let's see. So you got 3 interior offensive linemen. These are all just the transfers and recruits. 4 offensive tackles now in Tyler Johnson, Isaiah Miller, Dylan Wade, and obviously Gunner Britton. Now, as I said, my anticipation is that Britton will be a starter along with Dylan Wade. Probably Dylan Wade will be left tackle. He will be right tackle, which is what I think Brian had mentioned a little bit earlier. Yes, Britton at left. He said Wade at right tackle. I saw it flip-flopped, but who knows, right? It looked like to me that Wade has played longer and more consistently at right tackle. Excuse me, I keep getting mixed up at left tackle. But Wade is a little bit undersized, and you kind of want to have your biggest and baddest guy on the blind side of your quarterback. If he's a righty, that's going to be the left side, obviously. So he's going to have his back turned to him most of the time. That's the whole blind side discussion movie argument. So that's kind of the breakdown of that. That's kind of what it means for Auburn football, for obviously Gunner Britton. And to me, like I said, I think this is probably, we are done for now, unless something else arises. I have no inside sources or things like that. I'm just looking at numbers. I'm looking at opportunities. And with 7 new guys in the fold, you have now got what appears to be a pretty good depth chart of what you have at Auburn currently and what's coming in. Doesn't mean there won't be one more added to the mix. So in my mind, if I kind of just spitball here and think about what the starting lineup might look like currently based on what we have, it could look like this. Could have Britton, let's just say left tackle for our argument's sake, Wade at right tackle, or vice versa, whichever one. Probably going to have Jeremiah Wright in a guard. You're probably going to have Connor Liu getting started at center if he wins the job. Could still be one Tanner Johnson, who is here. And then you've got a couple other guys. I think really those 4 spots are probably the most obvious ones. The other ones could be a little bit more open. So if you guys have thoughts on the offensive line, Let me know in the chat right now what you think the lineup might be if you'd like to share one of those. Sizes, why I thought the left. Yeah, typically those traditional things, the bigger one's going to be your left tackle, protect the blind side of a traditional quarterback. But that depends on who's quarterback, and it depends on just who wins the job there. Listen, size as stars they matter to some degree, but don't matter the way we sometimes. No offense if you're watching, saw this one commenter. His first comment when we did a little community post about this guy committing is like, how many stars does he have? Not even like great to have him. Like, it doesn't matter. So size also for a football player in terms of an offensive lineman doesn't always matter, but it sure helps sometimes. It sure does help from time to time. So that is the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to talk with you guys today about. Here's what we're going to do. We did this yesterday on these early morning live streams. I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask more questions and comments if you want to, if you're watching live. And then maybe some unrelated ones. I see someone posted now. Now we'll address that in just a second. But let me do this as you get those last minute comments and questions ready. Don't go. We're not running away just yet. Let me give you the rundown of what to expect here coming up at Auburn and they're up at A2C and Auburn, and also some things to keep in mind. Our next scheduled live stream, you should always be subscribed so you don't miss anything, but our next scheduled live stream here is our Auburn versus Arkansas post-game reaction. Don't miss that. It will be immediately after the game. You have a lot of choices these days about where you can watch post-game reactions. We hope that you'll choose us, and at the very least, come back and watch us on the replay. Booster Club members will likely have the opportunity to call into that show. If you're not subscribed, you need to be. We're in a subscriber giveaway on our journey to 5,000 subscribers right now, so help us do that if you can. There's other things in the description to help support our content, such as being a channel member, a Booster Club member. There's PayPal. You can shop at our TeePublic store. All those things help keep the lights on here at E2C Network Central and, help me go to sleep at night. So we appreciate you guys helping us out. All right. So for our last few minutes here, however long you guys would like to, probably maybe 5 minutes or so, I'd like to maybe take some comments and questions, other commentary about this particular topic related around that, or maybe some offshoots of what we were discussing here. Brian says that heart is greater than size, is greater than stars. It's a good way to put it. He's 6'6", 305 pounds. How many stars does he need? Exactly my point. 305. And I forgot to mention this. He is up from 275 when he first got here. Now, that's not shocking or anything. I mean, that's what players do when they get to college. They bulk up, they put muscle on. But 305, 6'6" is a nice sounding left or right tackle, probably. Well, my gut tells me it's going to be right tackle for some reason, but I'm probably going to be wrong on that. Does this mean a quarterback transfer will materialize? To me, this commitment does not inform anything other than offensive lineman recruiting future, which to me, as we talked about, it's pretty full. It doesn't mean there won't be someone else materialize there. So this is not an indicator in my eyes that a transfer quarterback is coming in. Now, a lot of people are wanting to see that, and I get that. Robbie Ashford has showed a lot of promise, and I hope he will get his shot regardless, no matter who comes in to keep the job and move forward. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. You're hearing a lot of different names. This person's coming, that person's coming, and then they don't, So my hope for everybody is that you won't get so focused on our success of our recruiting cycle, our transfer portal cycle, on whether we bring in a transfer quarterback or not. There were much bigger issues and needs to be addressed. There's still linebackers that need to be addressed here in this cycle. Some more interior defensive linemen, maybe like another one or two there for depth purposes. You'll probably see some of that in the transfer portal, I would imagine. So while it would be nice to find some superstar quarterback that decides to want to come to Auburn and you say yes in that instance, I don't really foresee that being 100% a necessity or a focus right now, but you say yes if they decide to come. Greg Robinson was 6'5", 320 pounds. If you want to compare, that's a good comparison, Neil. Yep. So there's his specs, Britton. And then Neil also brought up Greg Robinson, all SEC offensive tackle for Auburn, went on to be with the Chargers, I think, maybe a few other programs. Left or right, trust the coaches and put the right guy at the right spot. I'm happy with 2 good tackles and, many more that came in the cycle. Tyler Johnson, the young guy. I'm just happy that he's going to get time to kind of grow into being the future at offensive tackle. That's what the important thing in here is. Looks like we have taken care of what we need immediately, but also started truly preparing for the future with our offensive line. Young guys, Tyler Johnson, Braden Joyner, Connor Lewis in that mix too. We'll just see how it shakes out from this point. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this morning on another Good Morning Auburn about what it means for offensive lineman recruiting, this new commit, Gunner Britton. Leave your comments after the fact about this guy. It'll help enter you into that ongoing subscriber giveaway. You guys are the best little family within the Auburn family, and I appreciate you so much hanging out with me and talking about something within the Auburn family spectrum. Till we talk to you again. War Eagle.